Right, is it over to me?
Yes, it's over to you, Chad.
Right. Hello, guys. I'm Chad, and welcome to the Get to Know London talk. Just so you know, I've just this year graduated from the music and sound design course at Ravensbourne. I've been in London now for a few years, and I'm hoping that in the time I've been here, there's going to be at least a few things I can pass on to you to help you get comfortable in the big old seat that you found yourself in, basically. So I'm going to be talking about how to navigate the transport around London, explaining how you pay and where you go to get it. I'm also going to be explaining some of the more sort of famous parks, museums and galleries that you can go to, even during lockdown. I've double checked that these are places that are all still open. And also just generally how you can find things that are fun to do. Not just that I think are, but that you think are. All of the places, like I've said, apart from the ice skating, are open during lockdown, so you can go and have a look at them. And if you have any questions, then just like Jess said, hold on to them till the end, and we'll do a little Q&A to try and answer anything you've got. Probably going to be about travel. So without further ado, let's get stuck in. So, how are we doing this? Sorry, COVID-19 in London. Basically, the government at the moment have got three parts of the mantra that they've got. One of which is washing your hands. You got to cover your face and make space. So wash your hands regularly and for at least 20 seconds, especially after you've come home from going to the shops or pub or any sort of venue like that. Covering your face. You're required to wear a face mask on all forms of public transport and when in any indoor venues. So that's anything from pubs and restaurants to the supermarkets, anything like that. Apart from with pubs and restaurants, when you're sitting at your table, you're allowed to take your mask off. And also make space. So just try your best to keep 2 meters away from people in the streets and in shops. 1 meter away is the recommended distance if you're both wearing masks, say if you're on a train or something like this. This is due to change though, so do keep up to date with it yourself. This is just as the latest information I've got as far as the talk goes. So beyond that, let's get into the nitty-gritty of it. Public transport. So public transport can be a bit bewildering at first. There's a lot of it, and don't worry, it's actually easier than it looks once you've gotten your head around it. So basically the two things that you're going to need are Google Maps and City Mapper. They're two apps. There are other ones around, but they're two apps that if you just type in your destination, you're going to be able to get to. I'm sure you've probably used them before, but particularly around the city, City Mapper is good because it tells you prices of things as well. So if you want the cheapest way to get around, then you can use that. So once you've decided how you're going to get, or what public transport you're going to use, be it a bus, be it tram, be it a rail, underground rather, be it a boat, you're going to have to tap in and pay. And you can pay using either an Oyster card, either a phone, or just your bank card. But you're going to be tapping in on one of the yellow sort of payment, payment podiums. I've forgotten what they were called. Me and Jess found out the other week. Around London, and that's called tapping in. So you'd use that normally with an Oyster card, of which the Oyster cards can be, or your train fares can be cheapened if you buy yourself a rail card, and there are different ones to buy depending on your age and your situation. So you can get a student Oyster card, which gets you a 30% discount on travel cards and bus and tram passes. But the thing I've found most useful is buying a rail card. So you can get a 16 to 25 rail card, that's your age, or a 26 to 30 rail cards. They both cost £30, but what you can do is once you've got the rail card is add it onto your Oyster card, and then what you'll do is receive a 34% discount off of all of your off-peak fares. on any of TfL's rail network. So that's the underground, overground, anything that's a train, DLR. But the rail card as well means you also receive 34% off any train ticket you buy in England. So I found this is the cheapest way to get around London, with an Oyster card and a rail card attached to it. And then you just tap in and out of all the public transport that you're going through. So next up is parks. So there are a lot of them in London. There's a lot of green spaces, and with the city being a city, it's nice to get away from all of like the hustle and bustle and the pollution. And it's good to know where your local parks are. The closest to all of us is the Honourable Greenwich Park, and it's definitely one worth checking out. It's just around the corner from Ravensbourne. It's a huge royal park with panoramic views of the city. As I've said there, it's got a little rose garden, it's got a flower garden as well, it's got a deer park. And if you climb up the big hill that's in Greenwich Park, up towards the observatory, there's a big, like, you can see all the way over from Canary Wharf over to central London. It's a lovely view. And like I say, because it's close to Ravensbourne, it's probably going to be close to where all of you guys are living. Definitely worth checking out. The next park I've put as Kensington Gardens, Hyde Park, Green Park and St James's Park. They are 4 parks, but they sort of make a band of green that run through central London. And it's worth checking out because they're really close to a lot of the tourist attractions you'll be visiting in London anyway. And also it's just a nice way to go and see the city, and lots of sort of things like the palace, like Buckingham Palace and Diana, sort of Princess Diana Memorial. As I've said, there's loads of memorials and sculptures in them, lots of sort of tourist sites on the way. There's also the Serpentine Gallery in between Kensington Gardens and Hyde Park. And there's lovely views of the city if you look for them. Like on the western side of the lake in St James's Park, if you look over, you can see Whitehall, and it looks kind of like the opening scenes of Disney, you know, like the Disney logo. So they're lovely and really worth checking out. Next up on the list of parks is Regent's Park and Primrose Hill. So similar to Greenwich Park, Primrose Hill, which is next to Regent's Park, has panoramic views of the city, but from the opposite side of the city. So you get a completely different view, and it's lovely, especially in the evening, watching the sunset. In Regent's Park, there's Japanese Island Garden, which is a nice little like secluded Japanese style garden. London Zoo's right next to the park if looking at animals is your thing. And also Regent's Park itself is right next to Camden. So you can go and wander around the markets and shops there, which, though a bit touristy, there are some absolute gems there, particularly some bookshops and little like clothes shops and stuff as well. So outside of parks in London that you can go to and things to do in London in lockdown are museums, of which there are lots of them, and most of them are really world-class and stocked up places, such as the British Museum, which has a massive collection of artifacts from all over the world and lots of periods throughout history, including like the Rosetta Stone, which is a famous text that sort of helped translate hieroglyphics. Got some of the earliest tablets of writing called cuneiform in there as well, all the way up to sort of the modern day and like the early Victorian times as well. And also there's a nice cafe in the centre under the big glass roof you can see on the right there. It's free. This place is free to go to. You just have to book a ticket in advance, which you can do online, and then you go in your allotted time slot, just put a mask on and then have a wander around. Next up, we've got the Natural History Museum, which is another classic place. You can get up close and personal with lots of really old sort of bony things, particularly dinosaurs. There is an ice rink in the winter, which obviously you can go ice skating on. That's not been confirmed yet, but is usually there every year. So keep an eye out for that. That could be going on this year as well. And also, Jess explained to me that there are Natural History Museum lates held there, of which are online now for free. And they're on the last Friday of every month. There's not one tonight. That was the last talk. but they're on the last Friday of every month, and worth going to. Next up in museums is the V&A, or the Victoria and Albert. So this is a museum of sort of design, art and performance, and there's a lot of exhibitions there, exhibitions of varying mediums, and there's always something interesting going on. The temporary exhibitions are often paid, but they have a permanent collection that's free to go look around, and same as the previous two museums, you can go for free. You just have to book a ticket, like a time slot, and a ticket for that time slot in advance. Like I say, there's a great mix of classic and modern work, and lots of different mediums and medias on display. So anything from fashion to car design to sort of music and historical artwork. There are other museums, but I've just gone for sort of the heavy hitters that are in central London. And it's definitely worth looking around for any local ones, depending on where you live, because I'm sure they'll be great as well. Outside of museums is art galleries, another big thing that there are a lot of in London. I've gone for, again, some sort of the bigger, more well-known ones, just because they're definitely worth visiting. But there are lots of galleries dotted around London, and it was hard to choose between ones that were sort of more in central London or outside of London, but there will probably be some close to where you live, particularly in Zone 2 and Zone 3. So keep an eye out for them, they're great as well. But first up on my list is Tate Modern. So the Tate Modern is one of the largest modern art galleries in the world, with work dating back from 1900 to today. In 2018, it was the 6th most visited museum in Britain, and it's got both free and paid exhibitions. The paid exhibitions will have concessions for students, so you can get in there cheaper than anyone else would be able to. And it holds some of the more famous artists. Like at the moment, they're doing a temporary exhibition on Andy Warhol, which I went to just this weekend. Again, the exhibitions you can go into for free will have to be booked online, and then you get a time slot and you go walk around, but you're not ushered out. You normally have as much time in there as you want. I personally find this place really inspiring whenever I visit, and it's really good to get the creative juices flowing. There are Tate Lates, similar to the Natural History Museum Lates, and they're online now, and you can go and attend them for free. You just have to book yourself in. And yeah, it's a great way to be introduced to new things. They have a continually revolving free and paid exhibitions, so there'll always be something new to go and see whenever you visit. Next up is Somerset House. Is another art gallery in central London. It's right near the Strand, and it's right near the river as well. It's a lovely old building with a courtyard that on their website they welcome you to just go and chill out around. They say you don't have to even come in, don't even have to buy a coffee, just come and chill out. It's a nice quiet place. It's host to a wide variety of exhibitions, not just necessarily limiting itself to visual art. It has sound art, and it has workshops as well that you can attend, not just an art gallery. At the moment, they've got an exhibition on out the front called Arrivals and Departures, worth going and looking at. Similar to the Naturalist Museum, they've got ice skating in the courtyard as well in winter, and that's to be confirmed. But that's normally a famous place to go for your winter ice skating fix. Like I say, though, they have open workshops and talks for you to attend, which are both currently online and in person. The ones in person at the moment are to do with 3D sound, as far as I remember, but they sort of revolve and they'll change monthly or bi-monthly. So keep an eye on their website for what they've got going on. Next up then, the last gallery I've included is a bit more local to Ravensbourne and South London. It's the South London Gallery. This is a sort of small to medium-sized gallery based across 2 buildings that has mostly free events and exhibitions, apart from the occasional workshops that you'll have to pay for. It's got a lovely little cafe and restaurant right next to it, so worth going to just to hang out for the day. And like I say, it's a smaller sort of local gallery showing slightly lesser known artists. So you're exposed to a different world than the sort of big glitz and glamour of the Tate and Somerset House. Yeah, so that is Gary's in London. Definitely worth checking out. But like I've said before, go check out your local ones because there'll be lots and lots that I've missed off this list that are worth investigating for yourself. So the last thing that I could talk about is sort of just general things to do in London, of which there are lots and lots and lots. So it's each to their own, really. The things that I've got here are things that I think are worthwhile doing, but you'll have your own things that you think are worthwhile doing. But just keep an eye out for any events and just sort of general things to do that are local to you, because these markets and stuff are things that maybe I've lived near before. And there'll be stuff that you'll sort of find that you can add to the list yourself. So markets are a classic thing to go do in London. There are lots of them, lots of old ones. Deptford High Street Market is a really good market, just down to earth and lots of sort of bric-a-brac that you can buy. Brick Lane Market, lots of vintage clothes, lots of food as well. And also you can go get a salt beef bagel at the other end of Brick Lane when you're done with it, which is a classic thing to do on a Sunday. And Portobello Road Market, which is famous for its antiques. It's a huge market in West London that sprawls up Portobello Road, and near the end of it is some lovely like little vintage clothes stores, and you can buy all sorts of food from there. They've got a massive food market. But like I've said, check out your local ones because there'll be some near you as well. The other thing, general thing that I'd suggest to do is just go and check out the South Bank Centre. So you can do anything there, often free events, and if not, there are concessions for students. And you can do anything from go and listen to a classical music concert to skateboarding under the sort of famous sort of like skate park that was made there. There's a lot to do, like I say, it's often for free, and the workshops are really good things to do and get engaged in subjects that might not get discussed in uni, or things you might just generally be interested in as a hobby. Yeah, so there are some things to do in London. If you have any questions, then now's the time to share and ask.
I haven't got a question, but I do have an update. At least I can give a small update on the ice rink. I haven't got it's still TBC for the museums, but Alexandra Palace, their ice rink is open. So one of them is there. And I think, as I mentioned in the last session, Christmas at Kew, all the Christmas lights are still confirmed as well. So that will be happening.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, I'll write that down. Cool. No questions about transport. I'm amazed. That was the most confusing bit before. Out the chat.
Yeah, if there's no questions, we can wrap up. But if you do have any questions, please feel free to submit them in the next minute, roughly. Otherwise, yeah, I think that covered like a very broad range of everything, Chad.
Yeah.
No questions. Okie dokie. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today. And thank you, Chad, for doing this and taking time to put together a sterling cross-reference of information about London and going and visiting the places themselves to double check with these COVID-19 times that what they are doing to handle those situations. I can't remember if this was touched upon this time. I definitely mentioned it last time. If you are going to the museums, please check out their websites. beforehand. Same with the galleries, just in case they are doing a ticketing service. Most of them are still free, no payment required, but they may ask you to book a ticket so that you can confirm a time slot with them, so you can go in and out whilst they are handling the numbers at the time during this COVID-19 world. But otherwise, we'll finish the recording, and thank you very much for joining us.